Hi, I'm Randall Browse, Chief Client Officer here at InApp, and I'm excited to share a video case study about our work with our client MPulse Software. Recently, MPulse faced some key operational challenges and turned to their trusted team at InApp for some help. Together, we implemented a tailored technology solution that streamlined their processes, reduced cost, and boosted overall performance. While there were some hurdles to the implementation, our team ensured a smooth rollout, resulting in measurable business growth for MPulse. This case study highlights how the right technology can drive real, lasting results and offers valuable insights for businesses overcoming similar challenges. Let's dive into the video.
Can you describe the problem you encountered?
We've had a lot of success recently with onboarding and growing our current customer base, and so we have seen the usage of MPulse grow exponentially over the last few years. And from that, we have seen that our infrastructure was no longer keeping up. As we worked with InApp to dive into that problem, we were able to identify that it was largely due to culling more data in some situations than we needed that hadn't been highlighted before because we weren't seeing such a high user load. As we did that, they worked with us to help identify solutions. And one of those was an optimization to a third-party library where we could consolidate API calls, which reduced the amount of data being called by 8 times. So when we actually looked at the SQL server, then we were seeing a 66% reduction in actual data called through our SQL server, and that resulted in about a 300% performance improvement at the user interface.
As Garrett pointed out, as the usage has increased and we've gotten so many more people, our peak hours have 4 times as many people using it than when I first started 5 years ago. So that really led to just a lot of what we would call like bad neighbors, where we'd have a process run that was a little bloated and it might impact another user as well. And so that was something we wanted to try and fix. Garrett was able to identify some of the areas we were running into issues with, and so when we presented that to InApp, they were able to come up pretty rapidly with a good solution on how to fix that, and we implemented it really rapidly, and it was very successful. So,
can you elaborate on the impact of this problem?
A lot of it was, it just didn't feel fast, which for customers is a very difficult situation to be in. A big culprit was just our physical infrastructure of our servers, and we're trying to hold too much or do too much at one time, and this caused some of the residual issues that customers were experiencing.
Could you quantify the performance issue?
We have a KPI on how long load should take within the application itself for user experience. So historically, we've always said that any user action should take less than 5 seconds, and we were getting up to 10, 15 seconds. After this change went into effect, most of our customers are seeing 1 to 2 second load times in all areas of the application.
Our native mobile app would load faster and would work much more efficiently. We have a data transfer tool that worked better and it had fewer issues running into timeouts or things like that for huge data sets that were being loaded. So our ability to handle our largest data or most intense data sets were exponentially improved. And as Garrett pointed out, our hardware was running at 100% CPU usage, and that dropped significantly, basically at half.
Yeah, and with that, one of the things that I monitor is how many concurrent users do we have in the software? What is our current load on the SQL server? So typically I do that through logical reads, which is a way to demonstrate how much actual data is being called from SQL Server per second. And so we were sitting at something like 150 gigabytes of data being called out of our SQL Server during peak load, and now we're down to, it's about 50.
Is this with the same number of users?
That's with the same number of users, correct.
At what point did you identify the problem and decide to bring it to InApp for a solution?
We brought the larger concept of the problem where we had identified these long load times and large data sets being generated, InApp brought in their experts in their technology management office to say, what is causing this? And they reviewed the code, reviewed our libraries, and they were able to identify what the actual cause of those larger than expected data loads were, where we were generating more data than actually existed.
What were the proposed solutions from InApp?
They ended up finding a configuration setting in a third-party library that we use, which was splitting out actions into individual API calls. So it would call 8 APIs for one load. And then in that third-party library, there's an option that allowed it to consolidate all that into one API call. And so instead of generating 8 times the data we needed, it was calling it once using all the data it needed.
Beyond the initial solution, were there any additional factors or considerations that played a role in resolving the problem?
Yeah, there were some updates to the SQL statements themselves to kind of optimize those. And as I mentioned before, because our customers are able to create basically their own SQL statements to get the information they need for their different reporting options, sometimes those weren't efficient the way the customer would arrange them. And so we implemented some best practices to try and take what they were wanting and then refactor it into something that was more SQL friendly.
Would you say that the solutions proposed by InApp's Technology Management Office and your developers fostered innovation in addressing this issue?
Yes.
So, yeah, I would say that all of these solutions were presented from the technology team and from our team at InApp. And I think another part of this that is, for us, a very exciting outcome from this solution is they also developed a plan for testing this in the future, for managing how we look at optimizations, how we look at things that are and impacting our load times and impacting our customers directly. And then they're creating a list of these that Garrett and I can prioritize to have the biggest impact on the customers as needed. So
Yeah, as Peter said, they're doing an ongoing weekly review of the hosting infrastructure performance metrics and then identifying areas that would be beneficial to prioritize those optimizations and refactors. One in particular would be we found a customer that has a very complicated and very useful reporting chart that they would like to use. But because of how complicated the where clauses are, currently how it's structured, it's not being built in an optimal way. And so they brought that to us as something that if we refactor this, if we redesign how we generate the actual where clause that we send to SQL Server, we'll see huge performance benefits.
As a separate project or as part of your regular maintenance process?
But one of the things that's been really impactful from us in our relationship with InApp is over the last few months, we've been working on adjustments to the project management system. And the project manager for our maintenance team has suggested some updates that have really improved how we release, what we release. And so we were actually able to fit this into our regular release schedule without having a huge, long-lasting impact on the other things we were working on. And so, for instance, in this particular case, we were able to release the release on time. We did have to adjust some of the items we were working on, but we were able to release those just a few weeks after. And so it wasn't like it caused an impact that was going to take months to recover from. It was something where they were able to pivot, adjust to what we needed, and then while that was being tested, continue to work on the items that we had wanted so that those could be released shortly after.
Expanding on that, the project management, and specifically our project manager's communication has been exceptional. So as Peter said, when we are looking at our development pipeline and the issues that we need to tackle, in addition to the performance issues that had arisen, we were able to blend them together to get the best result.
And so we've seen a lot of situations recently where there's been adjustments that were based on another group within the organization that had a similar issue, and the solution they came up with, we were able to adapt as well. So it is nice to know that while we do have a dedicated team and they have the technology team, really the entire company is always innovating and has solutions that we're able to actually adopt based on similarity of problems.
What are the key outcomes of the solution?
I had 6 customers specifically reach out to us and say, I don't know what you guys did, but it's noticed. We appreciate it. One even said that, you know, this past year of development has been the best they've ever seen from MPulse. So the work we're getting from InApp continues to set a high standard for our customers, which we really like to see.
Can you elaborate on how you worked with InApp to find solutions?
They were problems we wanted to address. Like, we would bring them and say, hey, these are things that we're running into. And they would go back and meet with whoever they needed to and then provide us with solutions. And they've been very strong solutions. We've been very happy with the outcome of those.
In addition to that, Peter and I have kind of reprioritized how we identify issues for development. So we're moving to what we call bug density. So we look at how many customers have reported against a bug to really prioritize to make sure that our releases have the highest impact. And with that, we're using a project management tool to track that. And InApp's team and our project manager specifically has just completely bought in on that and fully supported our move to that approach. And so now we're seeing the number of customer issues that we address per release has dramatically increased.
Yeah.
Earlier, you mentioned some numbers related to the technical aspects. From a technical perspective, what was the impact on your infrastructure?
So I am seeing a 66% reduction of load on our SQL server. So I went from working with our president to discuss potentially budgeting for a lot more hardware to support our customers to now not having to make that decision, because we've got a lot more headroom to scale as we onboard new customers, grow our existing accounts to support them with our existing infrastructure.
Business model. And so our retention is really high, and it's important to us that we're able to maintain that. So the impact on our customers' experience is huge, especially as we get towards the time of year of renewals and things like that, to be able to say, hey, these are all the things we did and that we'll do for you. And then I think, in addition, it is sometimes difficult to fit in certain enhancements that we know will make our product more marketable, but we really want to address like the needs of our existing customers. And so with these project management changes and these optimizations, we're now able to kind of do a little of both, where we can provide things that make us more marketable to new customers, but also kind of keep our current customers happy with the direction of the software.
What lessons did you learn from this experience?
One of the things we've learned is the technology management office is an incredible resource when we implement or update some of our third-party libraries, or we need to look at inefficiencies in our code. We have not always done a great job of asking InApp those pointed questions of, this is our business challenge, how can you help us? And in this case, we did, and we saw incredible results. And so we need to continue to do that and leverage them as our business partner to achieve what we need to be to succeed.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think also just the relational nature of our engagement with InApp. We've been fortunate enough to work with them for,
Almost
over a
20 years.
decade, yeah, almost 20 years. And that means that as the people we work with move into different roles in the company, we still have that relationship, and we're still able to have people within the company and within the organization that understands our business, understands our software, and is able to help us out even if they're not in our current team. And as Gare pointed out, we are able to bring up things that might be difficult because we have confidence that InApp will respond with good solutions, and they care. I mean, they care about our software. It's been part of their company for a long time, and and we care about them. We treat them as employees and friends, not just as like this group that does work for us. So
What are some of the most significant impacts you've observed as a result of this solution?
My support director came to me and was trying to figure out why our caseload had dropped by 30%. And as we dug into it, we identified that the more technical issues that were caused by some of these performance optimizations that then resulted in, escalation to find out that, oh no, it's the application not behaving as it was expected, have dropped off. And so we've actually seen a reduction in the amount our support team has to do with our customers because we've resolved the underlying causes.
I think if you look across teams outside of development and infrastructure, as Garrett pointed out, we've just seen the overall cost of the operating of the software reduce, whether it's in support, whether it's in development time, whether it's in time to, turnaround time for solving issues. We're seeing that across organization because of this, because it's our main thing, and it occupies the time of every department. And so to be able to allow them to work on more proactive things and work on like usability issues instead of software issues, that makes a huge difference, and allows us to focus on our customers as much as just working on the software and making it work right.
And seeing these improvements has allowed us to get more sales opportunities. We had a couple of our largest customers come to us with projects because they had noticed the improvement and they wanted to deepen their relationship with us and improve their implementation, and they felt like we were a good partner having seen the work that was provided.
Can you share your engagement process with your in-app team?
We have a project manager on that team that I interact with multiple times a week, that we make sure that we're on track for things. And then we have a development team that's a dedicated development team and a dedicated QA team. And every year we're actually able to adjust those to meet the needs that we have at that time. And so recently we've invested a lot. We've tripled our investment in quality assurance and automation to try and make it so that our releases can be quicker and easier. That's something that was suggested by InApp, and that we've been able to model the team within our budget to fit that need. I think the other part is that they are very willing to adopt processes and tools that we use and get the most out of those. And so our engagement with them tends to be one of creating this ecosystem of development where we're able to produce the product that we want, that we know our customers need. And we're able to lean on someone that has intimate knowledge of our product and how it's built and created and how to get the most out of it. So we have meetings with different levels of senior level people and within our team, and we have these relationships where we're able to kind of find out what they're doing and see how that fits into where we want to go. And so we feel like we're not just hiring someone to build our software, but that we're definitely partnering with someone, and they're going to provide us their expertise and then show us areas that might be a good solution for us based on what they know about us.
And often with our enhancement projects to the software, we will create a design document of how we believe all the interface should look, how the user experience will function. And when we turn that over to them, they come back to us with a technical design document of here's how we believe you should architect that within your application to fit the needs that you've identified.
What advice would you give others who are considering InApp as a partner?
InApp is unique in that you do have access to their entire company. Most places that I've worked at, you have a team. That team could be contractors within their own company. And so their scope of knowledge about that company and what they have is limited to that team. And if what we get on a return on our investment is a company, a large company with many different divisions of technology and user experience and automation and all these other technologies that we can draw from and focus through the team we have with them. And that's not like an additional cost. That is part of our contract built in. And so, that is incredibly valuable to us.
I would agree. I would say that one of the biggest benefits that a company can get when engaging with InApp specifically would be that they do have a huge number of employees, all with different skill sets and different focuses on what they're doing. And depending on the problem you have, the management at InApp is great at identifying those resources and making them a part of your team, or getting someone trained by that person to support your needs. So you really have a broad array of skills, technologies that InApp works with, languages, etc. So I'm pretty confident they can find someone that fits your need. I would say the senior management has a great technical knowledge and a great understanding of what the folks in their company are capable of. And you may not get that at other firms, where they may not be former developers who have been promoted and who understand how these projects work and these engagements go.
And I do think that there's also some new products from InApp that they've kind of shared with us that have impacts beyond just development. We're not a huge company, so being able to leverage different types of media, whether it's video or things like that, that's important to us. And to already have this built-in relationship and to be able to have it be generated by a company that understands exactly what we do is not something we could find anywhere else. And so I think some of those other things, or again, the automation and things that they know are solving our problems because of our relationship, I think is super important.